All right, gonna run the intro, and here we go. Hello, and welcome to this Dotacinema production. My name is SUNSfan, and joining me is nobody because this is a solo cast yet again. This is game 2 of the lower bracket finals between Panzer, who is on the dire this game, and EPIDEMIC, also known as erectile dysfunction on the Radiant. Radiant, or I should say EPIDEMIC, did lose game 1, so they're down 0-1. They need to win this to extend this series to game 3. And of course, if Panzer wins this game, they go on to the grand finals, which is tomorrow at 1900 CET versus Dignitas, where they will be down 1 game initially. At least I assume that's the case, because that should be the case. That's how upper bracket, lower bracket finals, or upper bracket, lower bracket, or double elimination tournaments work, I should say. But yes, last game we saw the push strategy coming out from Panzer, and it worked to a T. We really had no issues to speak of. The ultimates from, like I talked about last game, in case you missed it, the team fight synergy from EPIDEMIC was really good, but the execution was completely god awful, unfortunately. And there's not a whole lot I say there's not a whole lot they could have. And I said I wouldn't bring this up last game, but I'm going to bring it up now. The lanes were they were just terrible. There's no reason that you don't put Lich mid with an AA to dominate the Rasta, who ended up taking over that game. Kurokai just completely stomped on AA. By the end of the game, AA literally had no finished items. And we're talking like 25 minutes in. So this just goes to show you how dominant he was. But here we're going to have starting off the bans here. We have a Lich ban who was in last game. That's going to free up somebody, obviously. Furion ban in the meantime. Anti-Mage banned by Panzer, and they have the last ban here. They could either go Night Stalker or... who are they going to give up? If you don't want to give up either of them, leave them both open so you can at least get one. But again, Broodmother, who was last game, played by Panzer. So the question is, do they want to... Are we really doing another... What's going on here? I can't tell if we're actually remaking. I'm just going to assume we're not remaking. And I wasn't paying attention to how many disconnects there were, not going to lie. We'll see if they end up banning before the bonus time ends. Okay, good. Oh, they banned Viper. So is this real? Is this a real... Are we not remaking? Is that a normal ban? That is not a normal ban. I can say that much. Just gotta ask real quick. Of course, he's not gonna answer. Well, I mean, they did ban manually, so I don't see why this would be a remake. So I'm just gonna assume it's not a remake.
10 seconds remaining.
But yeah, Viper ban, that's really weird. This is gonna open up Broodmother, and... Okay, he has no idea, so we're just gonna sit tight for the minute here.
Reserve time.
I'll pretend these bans are real, and we'll go with it. Okay, it looks like it is real, because Night Stalker can be picked up in Broodmother. So, in essence, honestly, they just wasted a ban just to be able to pick up one of the two, which is fine. But I mean, why not ban somebody you think the opposite team's gonna pick? But I mean, maybe Viper is. I mean, it's not like he's completely unviable. So we do see that in push strategies as the pseudo carry to speak of. But again, Night Stalker would replace that. So I'm not exactly sure what that's all about. Either way, they're gonna get Broodmother and Windrunner. So. Yeah, I was going to say, Chen's going to be left open for that night for EPIDEMIC, so they're going to be going perhaps push strat here, or both teams perhaps. Maybe you're going to have a push, clash of the push. We'll see if that ends up being the case. I mean, Tidehunter's still available, who, it's just been unfortunate. The last 3 games in a row I've cast have been just useless. Utterly useless. And actually, last game, I must say, he started off really well. He went 4-0. So, unfortunately, the ultimate just hasn't been able to come into play for any of the teams here. Tidehunter is going to be picked up along with Chen and Night Stalker. So, they're not, at least not yet, going for any... I mean, they have Tidehunter for AoE ult, but really nobody to follow it up as far as AoE is concerned. But if you're the Dire here, are you going to continue to push here? You have Windrunner, you have Broodmother, who can, of course, Windrunner. I mean, this is the thing. Both are side solos, though. So I'm guessing Windrunner is going to be in a support role, which I'm not too big of, I'm not too big of a fan of. But hey, what are you going to do? essentially,
10 seconds.
and again, if you're picking the heroes, you got to put yourself in the team's position here. You're picking you're picking Windrunner
Radiant team
just so the
double.
other team doesn't get him, essentially, because she's just so freaking good. I mean, the shackle shot is just insane if you get it off on two people in a late game situation. That's a one fight essentially. They are going to pick up Venomancer, which is one I was going to mention for pushing. We saw how beneficial his wards were. I mean, honestly, that's one of those here you put all your wards down, and then if you get initiated on, you just pop your ult, get a Venomous Gale off if you can, maybe get one auto attack off, and you're dead, and that's fine. You did your freaking job, so no big deal.
Radiant team
Another
banned.
Darkseer being banned. So I'm just gonna say that Panzer apparently plays Darkseer a little bit more than I thought they did, and it wasn't even them that played them against Na'Vi. I know Kurokai was in that game that beat Na'Vi with the Aghanim Scepter holding Darkseer, but I believe he was just ringing. So
Dire team
I don't know the whole story behind this. That's why I need a co-caster to fill me in on these things. Either way, Earthshaker's obviously been banned in conjunction. Interesting, because I would think that, well, I guess they already have two melee, so they're definitely not going to go for that. But I'm not going to call it a counter, but it's decent against Chen if you get a Blink Tagger, because obviously the creeps will add damage to your ultimate. In the meantime, Sand King and Rasta are going to be banned. So Rasta is actually a really good ban, because that is definitely was going to be the next ban, or the next pick coming from EPIDEMIC if it was available. I'm surprised it actually got that far into the picking / banning stages. So, and I'm actually really surprised, because that is, I mean, he raped last game. He completely raped, and I think Panzer would have loved to have him, but
10 seconds remaining.
you want to go for a little bit more stable pushing in Venomancer, and I say stable because you plop down your wards with Shadow Shaman, and your pushing is somewhat done. You do have some lane pushing with the shock, but Venomancer is kind of like a sustained push, I guess you could say, and I think better in the support role than a Shadow Shaman. So perhaps they're going for a legit mid solo to go against the Tidehunter, or to against the Night Stalker. Beastmaster is still available. I'm really shocked that teams aren't picking him up more often against Night Stalker, and I'm shocked that more teams aren't banning him when you have a Night Stalker. But Enigma is going to be picked up, which is, it's good. The only reason I'm hesitant is because I'm not a big fan of that in conjunction with the Tidehunter ult. But if Tidehunter ends up getting his ult off, as long as you layer them, I guess is the important thing to know here. AA is going to be picked up by Panzer, so that's going to be basically to prevent the opposite team from picking it up. But they didn't want him, apparently. They wanted Mirana the whole time, who's going to be their pseudo carry for the later stages of the game. Honestly, Mirana is more of a side carry, but people have been building her more of a late game carry, so can definitely do so. But it's just one of those heroes that you can do so much with. You can be the side solo, you can be the suicide lane, you can be in a dual lane, you can be in a tri lane, you can literally do anything. You can be mid lane technically, although I don't like that very much. You can build her pretty much as you can roam with her, for God's sake. So one of the most flexible heroes in the game, but will be going for the hard carry role, of course, this game. And they have great turtle ability, so don't expect them to lose as fast as they did last game if they do lose, because Tidehunter and Enigma will prevent you from doing so.
Who calls the
Crystal Maiden going to be the last pick here, so they're not going for any real hard carry. I mean, Broodmother is what they're going to have to rely on here, maybe even a side carry and a Windrunner, but where is Windrunner going to go is the question. Is AA going to be mid again? And again, it was the opposite team in EPIDEMIC that played AA mid last game and got crapped on. So maybe Panzer's like, you know what? We're gonna show you how to play AA mid, bros. This is how it's done. So remains to be seen if that's gonna be the case, but the lanes are gonna be interesting nonetheless. Venomancer to go along with that, great harassability. I honestly have no idea what the lanes are gonna be for Panzer. There's too many combinations. I mean, look at Broodmother. That's the one thing you know is a side solo. Windrunner, like I said, can be anything. Venomancer could technically solo, very good solo, just haven't seen it lately. AA, kind of the same thing, could be a solo mid or, of course, in a dual or tri-lane. Crystal Maiden, of course, is going to be in a dual or tri-lane, so, but I have a hard time believing this is going to end up being a tri-lane, as we have our first pause of the game. But on the other side here, we have Night Stalker is going to be mid. That's pretty much a given. And Chen is going to be in the jungle, another given. And it looks like Enigma is going to be in the side solo, I would think, with a Mirana Tidehunter lane. Of course, you could technically Mirana side solo, like I said, and Enigma in the jungle with Tidehunter solo. You could go for the all solo strat again, which actually it was Panzer that did that last game. That worked out really well for them. They got the experience lead big time and just snowballed out of control. What's going on here? Need pause to fix internet for America. So in case you missed it, like I was saying, Kranich is just insistent on playing on a US East server, even though every single person except for him is in Europe. So kind of weird. I honestly don't even know the rules, so I'm not even an admin, so I have no say. Actually, that should allow me to have a say as far as expressing my opinion and not worrying about ramifications. But yeah, either way, I think that is kind of suspect to put the betterment of one person over 9. I'm not sure what that's all about. Not a big fan of that, obviously. But again, this is the lower bracket finals between Panzer and Epidemic. Winner goes on to the grand finals tomorrow at 1900 CET, which I will be casting, hopefully with a co-caster of the name of perhaps Luminous or Purge or Xeno, depending on who's available. And that is a best of 5, and today's is a best of 3. And 1-0 lead right now for Panzer, who I must say, they pretty much crapped on Epidemic. And it's funny because yesterday we were casting Dignitas versus Panzer, and Dignitas pretty much crapped all over Panzer. But in case you missed yesterday's games, it was mostly because the picks were just terrible. The pick ban analysis, or not analysis, the analysis was great because I was doing it, of course, but the pick bans, not too great. The Nakes for Dignitas, I think it was game 1, ended up just destroying the Dragon Knight, which is what he's made for. He's made to destroy Dragon Knights, so not sure they were thinking there. As pause continues, so I'm going to drink some water. How are you guys doing in chat? In case you're watching this on VOD later, we did do this live, which should be obvious by now, but in case it wasn't, which is well, first of all, we have a new website, Dotacinema.com. It's not completely done, but pretty much done for most part, so check that out. You can basically upload your own videos for Dota-related media, I guess, and it has all the heroes listed with all of our easy-to-go-to previews and soon-to-come guides. But if you go to our YouTube, for example, it's kind of, to go through each one is pretty annoying. I don't really like what YouTube's done with their layout, but, well, their old layout was pretty bad too, so I guess I can't complain. It's definitely better now. But either way, Dotacinema.com for if you want quick previews and things of that nature. And like I said, soon to come guides and many more things actually that we can't quite announce quite yet. That makes a lot of sense. But what was I going to say before that? As I drink water, hold on. Oh yeah, if you're watching this on VOD, we did do this live on stream, which is our new stream, brand new stream, own3d.tv/Dotacinema. Which, of course, if you're not aware of, is basically, and by the way, in case you're wondering, there is a chat for own3d.tv. It's something that doesn't come with all the own channels. It's in beta, but we asked for it specifically because I just feel like IRC is kind of old school. And although many people still use it, I'm just not into it anymore. I could be if I needed to be, but I mean, that's from literally 15 years ago for me, so it's kind of going back in time. But either way, the chat for Owned is a little bit buggy, honestly, but it's definitely on its way. They tell me it is going to be fixed in the coming weeks. It's going to be coming out of beta in a couple weeks, I think, so look forward to that. But yeah, the own3d.tv/Dotacinema is actually a portal where it has a bunch of different streams under the Dotacinema name. So for example, I have my own personal stream, which I usually I usually play with friends and people that are watching. I play with a lot of people that just watch me. They chat to me, they chat with me, and I just end up playing. We did a couple in-houses last night. It was pretty fun. Although the second game I got raped, so it wasn't so much fun. But yeah, if you just go to own3d.tv/Dotacinema, you'll see all those different streams there, one of which is mine. The only good one is mine, of course. Tanari is also there from Reason Gaming. As this pause Pretty sure this is actually a troll pause, just to punish Kranich for making them choose this server.
Prepare for battle.
Either way, if there's a game 3, it will be on European. So I will say, I expect Kranich to destroy this game with that epic ping. You know, does this work anymore? That doesn't work. I can't remember if there's a command to see people's pings. Either way, though, let me go over the heroes or the players for each hero. We have a ton of pings going on, very annoying. Night Stalker is being played by Kranich, like I said, so expect him to take over with that huge ping advantage, which I'm assuming is huge. Not a hacks on Tidehunter, who was Windrunner last game and has been Windrunner for almost every single game that I've cast and done really well with Windrunner. On the Chen here. We have Sunny on Marana. And God, these pings are annoying. How do you block them? Seriously. Dream Shock. Actually, can you? Ooh. I can. Okay, actually, I want to see if this works. Well, who's pinging, though? Is it? Yeah, that doesn't do anything. Valve fixed that immediately. Dream Shock on Enigma. And they're going to ward this really early. Is that close enough to block this? I'm not sure. It must be, or else they wouldn't have done it. We have PAS on Windrunner on the other side, on Panzer. Saga on Venomancer. Fire on Crystal Gaiden, also known as Crystal Maiden. Invisibility is bottom, so I'm picking that up. That actually could be really useful for somebody like a Venomancer or Crystal Maiden. Kurokai is going to be the one mid with the AA, so that seems like a trend that's coming back in the metagame here. Leaf on Broodmother, that's twice in a row in case you were wondering. These pings are super annoying. Holy crap. And looks like Venomancer and Crystal Maiden won't run into Tidehunter because he's being very safe. Little cuddly guy. I don't know what it is about Tidehunter, but I just find him super cuddly, even though he's a disgusting, disgusting slob. So he's running into Crystal Maiden, so he's going to lose a little bit of XP here, but that's the Tidehunter's job, basically, to give up XP to those carries. This is going to be the most interesting lane, because I figured that... ooh, actually, we're going to... So I was saying how safe he's playing, and it looks like he is going to be first blood here. And that's just unfortunate. He's going to actually waste... I mean, if you know you're going to die, don't bother even wasting a tango at that point. But first blood does go to Venomancer, and that's going to help him out quite a bit. So this 1v1 situation at top is Enigma versus Broodmother. I have not seen this in quite a while. I think Broodmother is decent against an Enigma just because he can eat the Eidolons, make them into Spiderlings. So that should be interesting to see if they actually end up doing that. Chen's moving out of creep here to the opposite side of the map, apparently. But yeah, this Kranich versus Kurokai mid, not only is the player versus player matchup interesting, but the hero versus hero. Ancient Apparition really good against melee, so I guess that's perhaps why he was picked. So we'll see how he does in the mid lane. In the meantime, again, Crystal Maiden Venomancer just chilling in the jungle. Not a Hex is going to go back bottom to help out this Sunny on the Marana, who is soloing against this Windrunner, and this has been a fabled 1v1 matchup of the ages as far as hero versus hero is concerned. A lot of debate going on who is better in this role. I feel like Windrunner is better at escaping and better overall, but not by a whole lot, as Tidehunter's going to get caught off again. Don't think he's going to die this time, although he is getting slow perpetuating. Nice arrow from Marana and a gush to boot. Crystal Maiden might actually be in a little bit of trouble, but again, Windrunner is here to assist, and the leap out is she's going to be just fine. So just going to break up that little scuffle, I guess. Nice Stalker getting a bottle pretty early, actually. That's a pretty good, pretty decently timed bottle, as there's the cold feet being placed on Nice Stalker. He's not going to care. I mean, you don't take any extra damage from getting stunned, so there's no reason to go outside of experience ranges. Here's Chen in combination with the Void from Night Stalker. That's going to be a kill. Can they get the kill on Night Stalker? Yes, they do. That ping really working out for Kranich here in the middle lane, getting that kill. And yeah, so good start for Night Stalker. So that's all he really needs, I feel like. He needs just a good start, one of those huge snowballing heroes, which we've talked about ad nauseum in the past, that will just completely take over a game. Broodmother, in the meantime, might be ganked here from a Chen, who does not have any Sentry Wards, and neither does Enigma, so actually nothing's probably going to happen there. So we're going to forget about that lane for the most part, until they end up getting Sentry Wards, of course. And wow, Kurokai didn't have money for a TP, so he needed to walk all the way back. I mean, he is level 4 and just barely level 4. Meanwhile, Night Stalker about to hit level 5. So it's not the worst situation, but yeah, Night Stalker is going to have the advantage in that lane, I feel like. Especially once he gets boots. I think boots are going to actually be really important, just so you can get out of that stun radius of the cold snap or the cold feet. In the meantime, though, he's going to get perpetually slowed by the mob of AA, Veno, and Crystal Maiden. Most likely will get a kill. He's going to try to turn around a Venomancer. Not enough to get the kill. Good attempt, but the triple gangbang action is just going to be too much for him to handle. Tidehunter's going to join Enigma here at top, but no Sentry Wards, so you can't do anything without Sentry Wards against this cut little guy here, who has a Soul Ring already. So going to be spamming that Spiderling. Venomancer's going to spot the Regeneration Rune at bottom. And Ancient Apparition does have a bottle, so it looks like he's probably going to go get it right now. Looking at some early creep scores here. Marana is 8-2 versus the winner who's 14-10, so Marana definitely at the disadvantage there. Meanwhile, at top lane, this is actually the most interesting one for creep score, I think. Broodmother at 23-5 versus the Enigma 9-6, so not even close. I mean, that's not too big of a surprise in that respect, but just completely getting dominated as far as CS is concerned. That's why people like Chen need to assist, as actually we're going to have a little bit of scuffle here, as Broodmother actually is diving in the bottom lane as well, but not doing any damage to Enigma, just pushing the lanes in general. Looks like Tidehunter and Chen are going to run away, but they're going to get squished in here by the Spiderlings. And perhaps the Crystal Maiden and Venomancer. So Chen in a lot of trouble. Actually, he's going to get completely cock-blocked. Spiderlings will get the kill. And actually, this is going to be a big blunder here if they can end up getting a ton of kills here. 1-for-1 exchange. Crystal Maiden did die, but here's Enigma going down to the Broodmother. So Broodmother getting 2 kills, one with his Spiderlings, one with himself. And Kranich, oh my goodness. You are just stuck, good sir. He's going to try to TP on. He does. Wow. So actually, really smart move. Really quick plays there from Kranich on that Night Stalker. As Chen's just going to feed the creep. Really can't get away, I guess, so just going to do as much damage with the Cyclone as he could. But yeah, going back to the creep scores real quick. The last one to look at is Night Stalker, who's 12-2. There's the Dust placed. I was going to say Sentry Wars, but Dust is just as good against the Broodmother. And unfortunately not enough mana to gush again. Now has enough mana, but Broodmother's long gone. So yeah, Night Stalker 14-2. Versus Kurokai, who's 17-8. So as far as creep score is concerned, Kurokai definitely winning that battle. But of course, he did die mid, so Night Stalker overall with the advantage, I think. And Night Stalker is one of those heroes you don't need a whole lot of farm on. He's very item independent. A couple items will really help him take off, but kills are more important than anything. As he might get, it is nighttime, so he's gonna be very fast. Has the boots. Will be going bottom. There's no rune though. Venomancer did pick it up at top. It's an invis. And looks like Night Stalker is going bottom. And they should know this. Winner, yeah, I was going to say, there's no way that they didn't spot him. So Night Stalker is forced to fall back as Broodmother ends up getting a kill on Enigma at the top lane. So Enigma, just not a whole lot you can do. At this point, I would say jungle, but hey, Chen's already in your jungle, so there's not a whole lot you can do in that respect. AA is level 6, Night Stalker level 6 as well. A little bit of a level advantage still for Night Stalker, even though AA has been getting a lot of assistance in this mid lane. But the roaming style of Night Stalker is going to really prevent you from getting as many levels as you'd like to get. As you see, the boots in conjunction with the level 2 Hunter in the Night is going to allow him to get away pretty easily from those cold feats. Cold feats? Or cold feet? I don't know. What's plural for cold feet? Because cold feet is it's a singular. Cold feet is one spell, but multiple cold feet are cold feats. That just sounds stupid. Broodmother, meantime, going to push the crap out of Enigma, and Enigma's getting, oh, a missed gale from Venomancer. Unfortunately, AL is going to come in. Actually, not going to hit anybody. Wow, that was a really good spread. But tier 1 tower, this is going to be the first tower taken down, courtesy of Broodmother.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
And just looking at the really early gold lead just from that tower, and a little bit of a kill lead, I guess. About 2,000 in the favor of Dire. Bottom lane, I'm expecting Chen to start pushing. He only has one creep right now, and it's dead. So, Chen not being the most helpful in the pushing department, at least. Meanwhile, at bottom, they're going to continue to take this down. So, very interesting that Epidemic is just giving this up, no problem. This is what they did last game, and you saw how horribly they got raped. Tidehunter gets killed, and the other side don't care. I'm sorry, Tidehunter gets a kill on Winner. Tier 2 tower. This is going to be more important than hero kills at this point. Tier 2 tower taken out at top, and now Broodmother can just stay in this lane and push it consistently while the rest of his team just worries about EPIDEMIC. Or worries about the opposite team, I should say. And actually, I think I mixed it up a little bit. I said they did this last game, I meant the opposite. This is what happened to EPIDEMIC last game. They gave up towers horribly, and you know what happened to them. So, if anybody should know how to come back from this, it should be Panzer at this point. Roshan is going to try to clean up on the spiderlings of Miss Broodling, and they're just going to push this tier 1 town down. A little bit of pressure from Chen going to be used to defend this, but this tower is very close to being in deny range, and obviously needs to have 130 health, but still pretty decently close. DD is available for the Broodmother if he chooses to pick it up. If she chooses to pick it up. Arrow's going to split the uprights, but it looks like Kurokai is going to get a kill on Ancient Apparition one way or another. But Chen steals it. That is a... Usually I don't care so much if supports get the kills in the early stage of the game, but when you're a Night Stalker, you have to get those kills early. That is just crucial for you. Just any snowballing here for that matter. Tier 1 tower is going to be pushed down here. Meanwhile, Tier 1 at bottom is also going to be pushed down, so perhaps a little bit of a trade. And yeah, this Tier 1 is definitely done mid. It looks like they're backing up at bottom, so they're not going to get this tower. Not in deny range yet. Murano was enough to scare off the Crystal Maiden Windrunner combination for some reason, not sure why. Broodmother did end up picking up that DD. It's going to use it to her advantage to push this lane. What is she going to get here? It's just a TP to help out her team, if need be, which is not really typical of a Broodmother, so interesting to see, to be honest. Kurokai already, I had to throw it out here, at the 10-minute mark, Kurokai on Ancient Apparition already has more items than the Ancient Apparition of last game. Just saying. But yeah, with a lot of towers going down, let's look at the gold lead again just to get an idea here. So it's a little bit even more accentuated for the Dire. About 3,500 gold lead for them. Not anything that you can't come back from, of course. Night Stalker gonna be really annoying with, oh, he has a haste too. Oof, that's gonna be just dirty. Doesn't have Urn yet. Interesting. A little bit surprised by that, to be honest. I mean, what's his gold per minute at this point? He's at 257. This isn't the hero that's going to be getting 400 plus. I mean, if you look at Broodmother, wow, 450. That is... Am I even looking at that right? Yeah, I'm looking at that right, and that is just silly. As we have a little bit of action here, nice Shackle shot onto Chen. Most likely will... Well, actually... Kill goes on a Crystal Maiden, now Venomizer's going to, so 2 for nothing exchange. AL really not going to hit anybody except for the debuff being placed onto Tidehunter. Nothing's really going to come of that though. And it looks like this tower is going to go down. But again, Broodmother is one you have to worry about. Has the Mithril Hammer going to be going for BKB here. But the fact that she's farming at 450 gold per minute at the 11-minute mark is very, very scary if you're the Radiant in this case. Chen ult coming out here to heal a little bit of their teammates here. And Winner is going to take Constellation in this... Oh, he's not going to actually get the Centaur. As Chen TPs it out. How nice. Taking care of his pets. But Broodmother level 10 as opposed to level 8 Mirana, who is in a similar situation at bottom for the most part. And looks like Broodmother is pretty much 1,100 away from finishing that BKB. If that, of course, is what she's going for, which is extremely standard, so I would have no reason to believe it otherwise. As here comes Night Stalker. Is he able to place? No, he did not silence. Just applying a little bit of harassment, I guess. Did pop the haste though. Has the point booster, so going for an Aghanim Scepter right off the bat, not going for Urn. That's very interesting, actually. Perhaps it has something to do with, well, I was going to say it has something to do with AA being able to take off regeneration, but I think if you're Night Stalker, you use it more offensively than anybody, to be honest. So, interesting choice. As Tier 1 tower is taking out bottom. Poor Tidehunter playing the horribly, horribly poor support. Doesn't even have ultimate. Remember last game at the, I believe it was 8-minute mark, he was level 6. That was the highest I've seen him in a long time. But of course, at the 12-minute mark here, or 13-minute mark, excuse me, does not have level 6 yet. Not even close, actually. Blink Dagger was picked up, I saw, on Enigma. So going with a little bit of a different strategy than last game. And typically you want to get tanky because the ultimates are a little bit easier to get off, as this Tier 1 tower is going to be in a lot of trouble. Oh, a nice shotgun shot on that Night Stalker, followed by the Cold Feet, and that's going to be enough to get the kill. He's going to try to take a little bit of damage. Venommaster does die in that exchange, along with Crystal Gaiden, but that's nothing new there. Skirkai's going to have to run away here with all his might. Tower is taken down, though, and Enigma ended up dying to Broodmother. Did not catch that, but Enigma having that Blink Dagger, not able to do anything with it, though. So I'm trying to think why he would get a Blink Dagger instead of going tanky mode. And the answer would be because Tidehunter is not ever going to get one. It's like, you know what? Tidehunter isn't even level 6 at the 14-minute mark. There's no way he's going to get a Blink Dagger anytime soon. I might as well get some sort of initiation because we really don't have that much of it. Although I say that, and technically they do. Night Stalker could be a pseudo-initiator, just kiting left and right with the basically maxed out speed. But another good one that's to bring up is Mirana's ultimate, which hasn't been used in an offensive manner, but could definitely be used to that effect if need be. And Broodmother's just going to continue the pressure. Level 11 has the BKB now, and that's going to be really hard for them to. Oh, actually, AA ult coming out. AA blast with Broodmother doing a lot of damage to Night Stalker, but Night Stalker is a beefy mother F. There's the dust placed. There's the ultimate from Enigma. BKB activated from Broodmother, so taking minimal damage, but is still in quite a bit of trouble. No, she's not actually. So ultimate on a single hero, which I don't personally mind in the early stages of the game, which I will consider this the end of the early stage now, but either way, I have no problem with that ult if you get the kill, but in hindsight, obviously, complete waste. Mirana going for a Mjolnir eventually. Very interesting. That's a very weird build. Typically you see a little bit more survivability with a Manta style or just pure DPS and pure consistent DPS, I should say. It looks like Winner is going to get mini stun here from the Malefice of Enigma, and that is a dead Winner if I've ever seen one. She has a mechanism, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. Either way, though, will get killed, even with the mechanism. Mirana does get the last hit on that one, so she'll be able to finish that Mjolnir very quickly, obviously. Arrow coming out. Oh, not going to miss. Crystal Maiden almost walked right into it. In the meantime, Night Stalker really could use an urn here. I'm still not sure why he's not doing that. But Chen, regardless, is going to take another kill away from Night Stalker. Not a big deal in that exchange, but either way, again, bottom lane or top lane, Broodmother just doing what she's doing. You always have to have somebody again to defend this lane. Last game it was Windrunner, who is probably the best choice, and now it's Mirana, who doesn't have as much mana capacity as actually she's going to get initiated on. Not going to die though, and Broodmother looks like he's going to get out of there. She's going to get out of there. This tier 2 tower is in quite a bit of peril and is going to go down one way or another. Not using these wards to try and deny, but that would be a tough task, of course. So yeah, phase boost mechanism on Windrunner. And while we have a little bit of break in action, let's just look at the rest of the items, shall we? So yeah, Maelstrom, which of course I kept saying Mjolnir, but whatever, Maelstrom into a Mjolnir. Maelstrom on Mirana right now. Very, very interesting choice. Blink Dagger, like I said, on Enigma really hasn't picked up anything after the fact. And a little bit surprised that Radiant doesn't have a little bit more than that. But on the other side of the Dire, like we said, BKBs actually might have a little bit of action here on Night Stalker, but Broodmother just doesn't do much damage at this point. So you gotta wait for her to get some sort of DPS, either a Butterfly or an Orchid or something like that. Winner we already talked about. Force Staff on Kurukai and the Ancient Apparition. Very nice pickup there. And that's pretty much going to do Arcane Boost on Venomancer. And guess what, guys? Tidehunter's level 6. Congratulations to you. So look for that to perhaps be some sort of initiation. Of course, he's just got to walk in. He's got to waddle in like that fat pig that he is and then get the ultimate off. But with an Enigma, no ultimate for 30 seconds, but with the Blink Dagger, he's going to be able to initiate. It's kind of an all or nothing here. Here we see the Mirana ult coming out in an offensive manner, and Crystal Maiden's going to be pretty much caught off guard and decimated. God, this is really, it's so tough to play against the Broodmother. I feel like Mirana just isn't as good as Windrunner in this situation. Winner can just spam that power shot, get rid of those broodlings or spiderlings. They should be called broodlings, by the way. That's probably copyrighted by Blizzard. Either way, Mirana just not as good, unfortunately. Can't spam the Starfall, which is called Star Storm. Stupid. That's stupid. And, ooh, looks like we're going to have a push. It's definitely going to be spotted by the spiderlings. And he's actually going to use those spiderlings to come in from behind. Smoke is used, but they are going to be seen by this broodling. Brood mother. Jesus, what's happening to me? As here's the initiation. Where is Enigma is the question. BKB popped by brood mother in a very defensive manner here. I feel like they could technically fight this if they wanted to. So he wastes that 9-second BKB. This tower is going to be the focus of a lot of attention here, as the only person not here is the AA, who's probably going to be placing an ult here anytime soon. Nice shackle shot on a Titan and nice, but nothing's going to come of this. Here's the Enigma ult. Maybe, no, he doesn't want to waste it on one person. And a Tidehunter ult, basically doing nothing. Oh, I'm just really frustrated to watch Tidehunters this last couple days, not going to lie. Crystal Blade, the only one to die, but they are getting the tier 1 tower, so all in all, it went fine, I guess. Ultimate used by Tidehunter, of course, that is a huge waste, colossal waste, if you will. Winner's going to try to get away, still has a winner ability, but it's not going to help when she is Malphist in the face. Going to use the shackle shot onto Enigma, but, well, there's the urn. Negative urn charge coming out, and Mirana is going to get killed with that Star Storm. So urn finally on Night Stalker, so not going for Aghanim Scepter right away. In between, like we were talking about last game, getting the point booster, and then finishing the urn in this case. And looks like Broodmother is getting a Yasha. Honestly, not the most typical build coming from a Brood. Is she going to actually finish that in anything is the question. Into an SNY, which is fine. In fact, I kind of like, I don't particularly like Manta on many melee heroes. Void being one of the few exceptions, and of course anti-mage, that's a given. I mean, she does have a good passive that would proc, or proc's not the right word, whatever the word I'm looking for is incapacitating bite, but I don't know. I think I'd prefer S and Y, because the chance for, first of all, it's not an orb, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you get a maim, it's just extra slow on top of the incapacitating bite, so not the most typical thing to pick up though, so I'm kind of half expecting her not even to finish that in anything, which we've been seeing a little bit more lately as well, people just getting Yashas for the hell of it. Not sure what the trend with that is, but going back to this Maelstrom, just so weird. Very close to a Hyperstone, so very close to actually finishing the Mjolnir, which you guys have convinced me to change my pronunciation from Mjolnir to Mjolnir, because I think I've gotten used to it actually. Certain things I will not repronounce though. Learn to repronounce, I should say. Which I can't think of any on the top of my head actually. Now I'm thinking really hard. I'm sure it'll come to me eventually. Enigma still has his ultimate. Broodmother did pick up that Yasha finally. And it's just, I mean, look at this. You just have to have somebody camped out here at all times, because you know the wave's going to be here constantly, which is just an annoying thing. I mean, Tidehunter is decent against the push too, but again, underleveled. And a level 2 Anchor Smash just isn't going to do anything to these creeps. But, I mean, once he gets the level 4 of that, perhaps he can do a little bit better job than Mirana, as Broodmother is going in really cocky, figuring that there's no real stuns to speak of, so not much to worry about. Looks like Windrunner is most likely going for a 4-staff, I would assume. That's going to make 2 4-staffs, actually. One on Ancient Apparition as well. Which, of course, is excellent against any AoE strat of any sort. I mean, it's good for getaways and stuff like that, obviously, but to stop Enigma from ulting, I mean, the fact that he went BKB, or did not go BKB and went straight for Blink Dagger, pickup like that is even more crucial, I think. A is going to bottle that regeneration. Pipe is picked up on Chen. Very nice pickup. I really like that. Something we've been seeing a lot more in the early stages of the game, which now it's mid-stage, but still earlier than usual. Really like that pickup. And that's going to take a lot of the team fight away from the Venomancer and AA. Wonder what the Ancient Apparition is going to be going for. It has 2k right now. Perhaps saving for Mystic Staff, going for Sheepstick or something like that. What is it, Mystic Staff? Yeah, Mystic Staff. Going for perhaps a Sheepstick or something like that. Remains to be seen. Do they have a mech? Yeah, they have a mech on Windrunner, that's right. And it looks like Night Stalker is about 1,100 away from finishing Aghanim Scepter, which is going to be great for him. Although he hasn't been the most active Night Stalker, I feel like. 2 and 2 and 10, so perhaps I'm wrong. He does have 10 assists, so that's... Of course, a lot of those are KSs from Chen. And I just want to go look at the gold per minute, because last time we checked, Broodmother was at 450, I think. And he's at 400, she's at 409. So dropping off a little bit, but anytime you're above 400, you're good to go. And on the other side of the coin, though, we have 380 on Mirana, so that Maelstrom really working out for her, apparently. Has the Yasha, so not going to be upgrading it to Mjolnir right away. So most likely going for a Manta style. I'm still really interested in that choice of Maelstrom. It looks like this is going to be a full-out push here at the top lane. Ancient Apparition is not there. It has a TP, though, along with Runner also having a TP, so it can come in anytime they like. The only one not here for... Oh, actually, Crystal Maiden's not here either. Also has a TP. Question is, are they going to actually try to defend this? That's one of the things about Dota 2. If you're not there and you have a ton of TPs, it might not even work out for you because it takes so long to TP in conjunction with them. You'd have to have 1 or 2 here and 1 in your base. Try and get there in time. But the tower is going to be taken out, and Epidemic's just going to TP bottom, try and defend this. In the meantime, I heard AA, but it's going to be Crystal Maiden. Looks like it's going to get caught off guard. So Crystal Maiden, pretty much all game, yeah, 0-7 right now. So not doing too hot. 14-7 lead for Epidemic at this point. And they need to continue this trend, although they do have... Well, actually, it's arguable who has the better late game. I feel like Broodmother is a really freaking good late game, but Mirana, I think, is a little bit harder of a carry. All things considered equal, of course. And the fact that Broodmother's saving up, maybe she is going for Manta. Same for that 2100 Ultimate Orb. Broodmother's being... or Roshan's being pinged. That would be cool if this was just a big Broodmother, actually. Big spider. And well, since I have absolutely nothing to talk about because it's been a big stalemate here for a little bit, we'll go over a little bit of item progression. Blink Dagger. Oh, wow. Blink Dagger on Tidehunter. That is a huge pickup. And that could potentially end this game, honestly. If they can actually successfully coordinate that. That is a huge pickup. Was not expecting that, that's for sure. And I like how I closed the item thing even though nothing's happening, because that doesn't matter. Nothing matters other than Tidehunter. Nothing's better than that. But in case I'm wrong, I'm going to open it up again. And looks like no new item progressions on the Radiant, as that tower is taken out in bottom. Leaf is just going to continue to push that top lane though. And he hasn't picked up anything new as of yet, I don't think. Yeah, he's just saving for the eventual buyback. And yeah, the 2 4 sets, 1 on Windrunner, 1 on Kurokai. And ooh, actually a Drum of Endurance, very nice pickup. Did not see that last game, interesting enough, even though we had way hard of a pushing strat coming on. I say way hard, they're not even pushing. Either team's not really doing a pushing strat. They have pushers, but not doing a pushing strat to speak of. But yeah, interesting to see that not being played last game, or not being used last game. And Night Stalker's had this Aghanim Scepter. I feel like he hasn't done anything with it though. I mean, look how much vision he has. It's insane. It's like having a ward of sight on you at all times. Observer ward, that is. I'm sure you know what I meant. Mystic Staff was picked up on AA, so it's going to be going for Sheepstick most likely, unless he wants to go for a Shiva's, which wouldn't be that bad, I guess. Kiting the Night Stalker a little bit, preventing him from getting max speed. I think Night Stalker getting BKB would be a decent choice this game. Of course, that pipe is going to mitigate a lot of the damage, so perhaps not even needed. But again, Broodmother's still saving up her money. Is she just going to go straight for something like a butterfly, or is she going to finish an S and Y, or is she going to go Manta? Is she going to actually do anything with this Yasha is the question. And honestly, Panzer, like last game, was the aggressor. And this game they seem to be a little bit more passive because they definitely are down in this game. EPIDEMIC trying their best to extend this to a Game 3, being the lower bracket finals, of course, of the SkyNet League. And uh-oh. They're going to run right into 2 invisible heroes. Well, Kurkai's going to TP out, and Broodmother actually is going to be fine. So nothing's going to come of it, interesting enough. And they can't push these this without the wave. And actually looking at that, I didn't realize all the towers are actually down for the Dire. So this would be a good time to perhaps go for a Roshan. And I think with Night Stalker having that Aghanim Scepter will really help you out. Although it is daytime now, technically. And Night Stalker picking up a gem. Very interesting. Or very nice, I should say, not interesting, because it's obvious why he picked it up against a Broodmother, the likes of Broodmother. And of course, you can use it to counter ward. I mean, you already have map advantage, map awareness, and map control is what I was looking for. But having a gem just adds insult to injury, because you literally cannot place a ward if you're Pandemic now. Because if Night Stalker walks over, you're just going to kill it. Meanwhile, Mirana's going to use the newly picked up Manta style to get out of that. And oh boy, she is in a lot of trouble. AL did come out, but looks like her ultimate might be enough for her to get away. She's going to run right into Crystal Maiden and Venomancer, though. And are they going to spot her? Oh my god. They do not spot her. Very lucky, Mirana. You are a very lucky little wench. I tell you what. And she's just going to go back to farming. Like, you know what? Screw this. And Broodmother has 4,400 gold, so the gold watch continues onto her. And I think it probably is a good idea to save for buybacks, because you definitely are down. You expect to die in one of these fights, and a buyback could prevent the team from raxing, so I can definitely understand that. AA putting down a actually, what is that called? A vortex? Yeah, ice vortex to scout out Roshan, but again, EPIDEMIC's just too scared to go for some reason. As long as it's nighttime, which it isn't yet. Maybe they're just going to wait for the next nighttime. They really don't have any rush. They have absolutely no rush. The longer they wait, the more beefy Mirana is going to get. The more damage she's going to be able to do to somebody like a Broodmother who doesn't have much damage to speak of right now, because she's just saving her money. It's like Scrooge McDuck, as Xenocide would say. Just rolling around in her gold. I can only imagine what a spider looks like rolling around in gold. Either way, Point Booster is going to be picked up by Venomancer. Not sure if he's actually ever going to be able to finish that into finish an Aghanim Scepter, but like we've talked about time and time again, Point Booster is just one of the best items you can pick up just for pure HP and mana. And this might be the push. This might be it. And I think if you're Dire in this case, you need to bait out or just destroy this Enigma as soon as possible. He's going to stay in the back here as long as he can. And looks like they're finally going to go for these towers here without an Aegis, mind you. So very interesting choice to go in without an Aegis here. As there's the ultimate from Tidal. You see the Blink Dagger coming out. I forgot all about his Blink Dagger, actually. Basically just placed on the winner and nobody else. He's going to get completely killed. So terrible initiation here. Night Stalker is going to get ulted to the face. Gem is going to drop. Bruma is just going to kill with that BKB activated. So 2 for nothing exchange. A terrible, terrible, terrible initiation from EPIDEMIC. And I do believe that Chen most likely will die here as well. Nice Ice Vortex and a good Shackle shot to boot. Bruma is going to take that kill. Has 6,000 gold, by the way. Just disgusting. What will you buy, good sir? Oh, he did. She just bought something. And the chicken, the courier has it. Going for a butterfly straight up, out of nowhere. So I like that. And like I said, not stupid after all. It's actually a really good time to go for Roshan, actually. Chen is going to spot this, though. Definitely. So not going to be finishing or turning the Yasha into anything. And even being spotted, they don't care, because like Tidehunter ult's down. Enigma ult is up, but they don't have a whole lot to follow it up with. But yeah, the Tidehunter ult was really, really bad. That's all that you can really say about it. Hit Windrunner and only Windrunner, and they didn't even get the kill on Windrunner in the end because he was so far up. And in fact, he went and ulted and died. Essentially, that's what happened. So Roshan will drop the Aegis of the Immortal. The Aegis. Now that's a voice I wish I could do, is the Broodmother voice. I can't do high-pitched voices, unfortunately. It's one of my few faults in life. Ancient Apparition could finish his sheepstick in about 300-400 gold. And that can be a pretty big item. Enigma does have 2k saved up, so I'm assuming he's going to go for BKB, and that would be a really big pickup because there is no way for the Dire to actually stop him from ulting once he has that off. So he can just literally walk in at that point. Which is why I was wondering, like, why get the Blink Dagger first in this case? You can just go tanky build, especially when you have the late game advantage. There's no reason to rush anything. And we saw him really not use that to his advantage at all. But like I brought up as a theory of mine, is because he didn't think that Tidehunter would get a Blink Dagger of his own at some point. Which, of course, would be incorrect in assuming that. Bruma is just going to start to save more gold, has 1500 to boot. The question is, what is she going to go for next? Is she going to go for an Orchid, which at this point, who would it be good against particularly? I mean, any silence of any sort is obviously going to be good, but Enigma picking up a BKB shortly, as you see a Sheepstick finished on Ancient Apparition. BKB is going to null and void that completely. So Enigma isn't really a good choice for that to use that against. So perhaps she's just going to go DPS. We've seen people go for crits on her before. I think you have a decent range of items you can go for. And of course, one of the reasons to get Orchid is for the mana regeneration, which you don't really need this game. As she can plainly see that she's being spotted here by the Sentry Ward. You don't really need that just because of the fact that, well, I guess she doesn't have it anymore. She did have a Soul Ring, but Crystal Maiden, Global, Brilliance Aura, which in this game is called Arcane Aura. Ugh. That's an awful name. Ugh. I'm gonna drink some water in disgust. Oh, so good. But I'm gonna come back to a point I was alluding to earlier, in the fact that Epidemic they felt like they needed to push mid for some reason. And in some respect I can understand that, but in others I do not. And I'll explain that. I do not understand in the fact that you have the harder carry in this game. Harder carries, I should say. I think a Mirana Night Stalker trumps a Broodmother. But of course you do have an AA with a Sheepstick, so that's definitely going to assist. And I mean, all things considered equal, as far as carries are concerned, I think Radiant have the advantage. But it's not by that much, obviously. But I feel like the longer they wait, like I've talked about, Mirana's just going to get more beefy. Of course, Broodmother, you can say the same thing about. But on the other side of the coin, I feel like they feel the need to push because although Night Stalker could potentially carry, or side carry, I should say, for the most part, he does drop off considerably. As AL is going to be placed on him, and he's going to go one-on-one battle with Broodmother that he does not want to go. Ooh, interesting. Okay, Broodmother actually going to pop the BKB and not actually going to do anything with it. Going to apply a little bit of pressure to Enigma, but nothing's going to come of it. But yeah, I can understand from that respect that they want to push because Chen also is pretty much useless in late game. He's essentially a glorified heal, and of course his penitence is good for amplified damage, so in that respect it can be useful, but as far as like any other hero, like he's pretty useless in the late game. So you don't want to waste your advantage when you have a Chen is another thing to think about. So we'll see how that ends up going. Here's the Chen coming out here. See how useful that is at the beginning. There's a Tidehunter, really good ult on 4 players. That is going to be a huge turnaround here. Crystal, Gaiden, and A going to get killed along with the Venomancer. There's the winner trying to get out, but the Malefice is going to be used. Mirana getting an ultra kill. Holy God. And at this point, perhaps Roshan is still down. I mean, I think still Age is still on Broodmother, so. I mean, this is, we talk about how useful Broodmother is in pushing the own lane, the side lane, while the rest of your team does things, but that's assuming that the rest of your team can actually put up with a 4-on-5 battle. Which, typically speaking, if the roles were reversed, if Broodmother was on the opposite team with all these ults coming out from like Enigma or Tidehunter, then it would make a little bit more sense in her ability just to sit on the other side of the map and not worry about her team getting destroyed, but that's just not the case. Of course, to her what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know the word I'm looking for, but either way, the ults haven't been great from the Radiant, so other than that last exchange, their ults have been really poor actually. So if they continue to do so, I think it's going to be very, very tough for Panzer to come out with this win, even with that Aegis, even with that Broodmother hard carry. And again, if you're just joining us, this is the lower bracket semifinal, or finals, sorry, lower bracket finals. Pandemic on the Dire, Epidemic on the, did I say Pandemic again? Panzer on the Dire, Epidemic on the Radiant. And it is a 1-0 lead, of course, for the Dire at this point, for Panzer. Winner of this series, I want to say this one more time, and when I say one more time, I mean like a million more times, because I'm definitely going to bring it up more often. Grand Finals. So the winner of this series will go to the Grand Finals tomorrow, which is a best-of-5 series between Dignitas and whoever the winner of this series is.
Invisibility.
And Dignitas has just been crapping on people. I mean, Panzer in the last game destroyed Epidemic. Like, it wasn't even close. I'm glad this game's a lot more even. But Panzer was the one that was destroyed by Dignitas in the previous series, in the upper bracket finals. But yeah, the best-of-5 tomorrow at 1900 CET. I will hopefully be joined by a co-caster of sorts, whether it be Purge, Luminous, or Xeno, or hey, we could do a quadcast, no big deal. We can definitely do that. That'd be fun. MKB picked up on Marana. That is going to be a ton of damage coming out here. BKB very shortly, and actually I say very shortly, I think he just picked it up, is on the Chicken, Courier, whatever you want to call it. Yes, BKB on Night Stalker. That's definitely going to help quite a bit. And there's the BKB on Enigma. So that could be enough items for them to be comfortable. Pipe on Chen as well, which actually I think I mentioned that literally at the 15-minute mark, and I just completely forgot about it. I thought it might have been a different game, but no. Alas, it's the same. Venomancer, oh, actually he's getting really close to an Aghanim Scepter. Wow, he just needs the Agility Blade, whatever, the Quick Blade I think it's called. Of course, I could be wrong. AA is going to get caught out. Oh, a nice arrow. That is actually a bigger kill than you would think. The AA ult is huge in team fights, and not only that, but the sheep stick to go along with it. Does he have enough for buyback? Actually, I think he does. I say she, it's probably he. Pretty sure it has testicles of some sort. Bruno is just going to continue the pressure at top lane. It has the Aegis, so shouldn't be too scared of going into a team fight here. And if you're, honestly, if you're the Radiant, you may just want to get somebody back there to defend that, because you definitely don't want to trade. AA ult is down, and I mean it is a 5-on-3 here mid, and this is an easy rack if Broodmother doesn't come. But as you see, Marana is back in the bottom lane with that MKB. So a good choice, I think. Well, actually, Night Stalker is going to get TP'd out by Chen, so they're just going to completely abandon this. That's an interesting choice, because I feel, although they did get the tower, so that is important, but getting an AA down like that is pretty big in team fights. So in essence, I feel like they could have just barreled themselves in there and gotten these 3 kills. Winner being the hardest one to kill, but the other 2 relatively easy. With all their ults being up, Broodmother being forced to TP out and not really able to team wipe, because she does do decent damage, but she's not going to 1v5. So I feel like you could have gotten racks. But they're playing it safe, which I can't blame them for in the end, just because they do have the better late game. And of course, this is just my opinion. That is debatable, though. Definitely is debatable. Venomancer going to pick up the Regeneration Rune. 500 away from finishing that Aghanim Scepter, which I almost never see on a Venomancer, but it does a stupid amount of damage. Of course, he only has level 2 ult right now, so that's going to basically make it a level 3 ult as far as damage is concerned. But once he gets the level 3 ult, it's going to go, the damage is going to go up from 81 to 108 damage a second. And I think it adds an extra second. I can't remember if it does or not. Either way, though, it adds a ridiculous amount of damage. And looks like they might be ready to push this. All their ults are up, of course. Broodmother is continue to push this bottom lane as per norm. Has about 3k, so potentially could buy back. This Rax is half dead. Shackle Shot's not going to apply to Marana. And I think, yeah, that is Broodmother coming in here. You see the Cyclone coming out from this cuddly little creep, which actually does a lot more damage than you would think. Of course, not at this stage of the game. And Marana's just going to use her illusions to try to take down this Rax. And if you're Panzer, you don't want them to initiate in your base, because they can get an easy Rax. Here is a really nice Shackle Shot. Uh-oh, Broodmother's going to get... Oh boy, here's the chain stuns coming up, Tidehunter, and that is a dead Broodmother. Can she buy out a decent ult, I guess, from Enigma? It's going to get the kill regardless on Venomancer. AA, it's going to buy out. Broodmother Oh, that's right. She had the Aegis. Completely forgot about the Aegis since they never used it. Crystal Maiden's gonna go down to Night Stalker, or to Night Stalker. Broodmother's gonna use that ult to the best of her advantage to try to gain as much life as possible. Does have the Mantis Saw just finished actually, so gonna be using that slow and killing off the Mirana. So they're able to defend these racks. I'm actually surprised, to be perfectly honest. Enigma's gonna get killed. Buyback's coming out from Mirana. Not sure why you would do that, because you're not gonna come back and really kill anybody.